Hi everybody, it's T again. Okay, in this video I want to talk about validation. And is validation really that important? Okay, to most of you, you're going to say, yes, I need some type of validation to know that what I'm doing is important, has value, and is right for me to continue doing my work. Well, the very first thing I teach in my psychic development class is no, validation is not important. And here's why. I do lots and lots and lots of readings and lots and lots and lots of classes and shows and everything else. Sometimes I don't hear back from anybody. Sometimes I'll do a show and I'll do a reading on a show and I may never hear from that person again. Sometimes I'll do like a reading and I won't hear from them for like 6, 7 months. And I always tell this story. Let me tell you this story. I always tell this story on my radio shows, how this girl called in and she wanted to know if she would meet her soulmate. Now, this is why I hate giving names on radio shows. This girl right here in this particular reason. So she wanted to know if she'd meet her soulmate and she wanted to know his name. So I had told her his name was William, but he goes by the name Billy. And that would be her soulmate. And she would meet him in like a few months. Okay, so she does call back into the show like 6 months later. And so she met this wonderful guy, kind of where I said she would, at this work like type party atmosphere thing, and that but his name's not William or Billy, but she really, really loves him and she knows that that's her soulmate and they've been dating and they've been getting really serious, but his name is Ted. So I was like, wow. Names and numbers are usually my thing. So anyway, that haunted me for like a really long time. I kind of lost trust in myself. I kind of, for like a whole month, I couldn't do a show. I was like, I really let it mess with me. Like, oh my God, wait a minute. Names and numbers are my thing. How did I get that so wrong? So I let it consume me. I let it take over. I kind of quit doing things for a minute. I got upset over it because I didn't get the validation that I needed. And so I felt that my readings were less worthy because of it. So I just didn't do them for a while. When I finally did pick myself back up and said, this is ridiculous. I have a lot to offer. So I'm wrong every once in a while. So what? A lot of people are. Get over it. So I said, okay, fine. I'll start doing the shows again and I'll start doing the readings again. And I was like, okay, I'm back to normal. I'm back to normal. That hit me hard, but I'm back to normal. Don't you know that she called in like, it was about 4 or 5 months after I had got back on my feet and got myself situated to tell me, oh, T, hey, hadn't talked to you in a while. Couldn't send me an email, let me know earlier, by the way. Right after I had called into the radio show, I had met his family and found out that he was adopted. And his birth name was William, and his grandmother had always called him Billy, but his mother died when he was 3.5, and the grandmother couldn't take care of him, and he got adopted, and they changed his name. I let all of that mess me up. And the whole time I was right. But because I depended on that validation to show my intuitive worth, I let that bring me down and stop me. So after that day, and after I found out that I did all that for nothing, I started to look at validation really strongly. How important is validation? Because sometimes you may never get somebody to tell you whether you were right or not. And sometimes you get people telling you you was wrong, like I said in the video before, just because they didn't do what you told them to do and they probably messed it up themselves. But that's your fault, right? So that kind of was a lesson to me about trust. How much do you trust your intuition? Do you trust it enough to tell somebody something and walk away and never know if you were right? It's hard. It's hard because that validation almost feeds you. Like, that's what keeps you going. Oh, everybody's telling me I'm right and I'm good, so I'm going to keep going, keep going, keep going, And it's like if you don't know, it's like you don't have that spunk to keep going. But in reality, you may never know. You'll get a lot of people that will never give you testimonial, will never call you back, will never say anything. You gave them what they needed for that moment in time and they didn't need you again, so you just don't hear from them. They don't realize how much we put personally into each reading and that sometimes we'd like to know and they just don't tell you. So validation is really not that important. when we very first start out, it's kind of like at the very, very top of the list. And as you tend to do readings and trust your intuitive knowledge more, you tend to realize that it's not really so important anymore. So again, one of the very first things I teach in my psychic development class is trust is everything. If you can learn to trust yourself and trust what comes through without getting validation to say you were right or wrong, now you've reached a place. Now you've reached it. Now you're there. Now you can freely do readings and help people without depending on that validation. And validation is one of the biggest fears when you start out. What if I'm wrong? What if I give somebody a reading and I'm wrong and everybody knows it and I look stupid? There's the validation. So validation is kind of our biggest fear. So once you can get over not needing the validation, you're good to go. But how do you do that, T? How do you not depend on that validation? It's all about trust. There's trust exercises and everything else I can tell you, but you'd have to get my class to figure that one out. So I hope that helps everyone. Bye.